All right. Matt Winston on the Fishbowl. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sam, on this lovely Saturday.
Absolutely. I've been a fan of both your work and your father's for probably since, I've been alive, which was, which was 1988. Um,
You're a baby. You're a baby. I have t-shirts older than you.
I mean, Stan was just, I mean, the master. He was the master. He created, everything that really was, a ground, a game changer as far as science fiction films go. And I was wondering if you could give a little bit of insight about what he was like and everything.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for the kind words about Dad and his career. He and his team made magic and broke ground so many times. And uh, as a human being, Dad was incredibly playful, incredibly silly. Also, on the flip side, incredibly driven. He really felt that the work that he and his team were doing was worthy of the spotlight, and he was a great leader. I think probably his best quality really was understanding that as an individual he could achieve a certain amount, but if he was able to bring together a team of wizards to work with him, that he could really uh, change movie making and fantasy character creation. And so, funny, silly, driven, great team leader, so many words I could use to describe Dad. It's a big question. That gets us started, though.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome to hear because I am still a diehard fan of your father to this day. I mean, one of the first, well, of course, the first film I saw that attracted me to makeup effects in general was the Terminator, and since every Terminator since that he's been able to work on, followed by Predator, I have a giant 24 by 36 poster of Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator with open arms and the face and everything. I mean, he was the master. Um, but let's talk a bit about you, and starting off with your role in New Nightmare.
Oh, okay, sure. I hope we're going to get back to Dad. That's a much bigger conversation than we
Oh
gave.
well, I didn't want. Well, we can hold off on New Nightmare because I would love to talk about your dad, a lot because if he was still alive, I would love to have both of you on the show because I have the Winston effect. I've read it probably 5 or 6 times at this point. Um, what else? What else can you say about Mr. Stan Winston?
I think the that's an effect because that book is a book that anyone who is a fan of fantasy characters or special effects, practical effects, makeup effects, you should pick it up. Because even if you're not intimately familiar with Dad's body of work, you're certainly familiar with the iconic characters, as Sam mentioned, Predator, Terminator, the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, and so on. I mean, those are all featured in there. But towards the end of Dad's life, when he was asked, "What's your proudest creation?" he would not point to the T-Rex or the Alien Queen or the Terminator in his many incarnations. He would point to this book and say, "The reason I love this book is that so often the wizards behind the scenes don't get their due. It's usually the above the line, the director, the stars, and the book told the story of all those stars behind the scenes, and he was so proud to sort of shine that light on his team because everything he did was done and was possible because of this incredible team. So I would say pick up that book if you want to really understand Dad and his history and the secrets behind all those amazing characters. Check out The Winston Effect, um, and you'll learn the whole story. He loved that one. And I would love to today talk to you guys about Stan Winston School as well because it's really
Yes, yes.
an extension of that. But I guess chronology-wise, I guess we could jump into some of my acting stuff, and then we can finish it up with Stan Winston School, which has really become my and my family's personal passion since Dad passed away, and it's what we're most proud of, and it's really what fills my time on a daily basis. So if we can finish with that, that'd be great.
Yeah,
But any acting questions you got, shoot.
well,
You
you
not,
know, the Stan Winston school was actually what I was going to close with. So,
great.
because that's one thing I definitely wanted to get in there. Again, for Stan and everything. I mean, I to this day, whenever any one of his movies that he's featured in the credits doing makeup effects, I will, whether it's the beginning of the movie or the end credits, I will wait, to see his name, just because I'm like that guy, really, set a lot of the tone for what I like.
Well, that's so awesome to hear. I mean, truly, before Dad, as much as Jack Pierce and Lon Chaney Sr. and the Tuttles and everyone else, and John Chambers, Dick Smith, as much as they really revolutionized character creation on film, um, it was a time when their names were not well known. Anyone who wasn't a star or director were just looked at as craftspeople. And I think one of Dad's great contributions to the industry is that he sort of elevated in the eyes of the director and the producer and fans the role of the character creator, and he insisted on he and his team getting top billing because he said, "Hey, man, we're making the star of your movie.
Yeah,
It's not called Reese; it's called the Terminator. It's
right.
not called Dr. Malcolm; it's called Jurassic Park. It's about dinosaurs.
Right.
So, he was very kind of unique in that he fought for that for himself and for the industry at large. So the fact that you even knew the name to get excited about is a testament to him kind of insisting on these artisans getting the credit they were due. So
And it's I saw an interview with him on the special features of Wrong Turn, and he said that he viewed makeup effects artists as like the Leonardo da Vinci's of the 20th and 21st century in a way. And when I heard that, to me that was like that makes total sense, because it's like, makeup effects artists are really the ones creating these sculptures, creating the really the characters and creatures that really bring to life horror sci-fi films in general. And one of them that really influenced me, that my dad showed me, that actually won your father an award, was the 1970s made-for-TV movie Gargoyles. And when I saw that,
way back, wow,
yeah,
that was his first uh, solo professional gig. Although we worked with Sonny Berman on that, but that was right out of his Disney apprenticeship, and he won the Emmy on that. And those characters were great. Those gargoyle suits. And yeah, it had an impact on me. You were born in '88, so you saw reruns. I remember seeing it when it first came out in '72. I was 2 years old and hiding behind a chair and watching through one eye because those gargoyles were scary.
yeah, and that film has been such an inspiration on me that I'm not going to remake it, but I'm writing a script that is it's based on the actual legend of gargoyles.
Yeah, it's
And
time. Let's bring back the gargoyles.
yeah, right.
I love it. It's
And
time. Enough with vampires and zombies. Let's see some gargoyles.
yeah, right. Exactly. It's there's actual legends. Whether it because I'm also for my senior thesis class working on a script based on the Native American legends of skinwalkers, and
Cool.
that's another awesome film that your father got to work on. Skinwalkers. So like it's just so many great, memorable movie monster characters have been just, immortalized because of Stan.
It always took a team. He needed a great script. He needed a great director. He needed all of it to come together. But I think the reason his batting average is so high in terms of his characters becoming iconic and spawning franchises that are living to this day. I mean, they just announced another Predator sequel. We had Terminator and Jurassic Park back in the theaters this summer. I think the reason that he and his team did such great work was that they were always driven by one single goal, and it wasn't to make the most impressive effect or to draw attention to themselves. It was always to serve the story, and the best way to serve a story is to create an absolutely believable, 100% real, dimensional character. And so that was always their focus. The Predator, if you look at the Predator, there's just a lot of specificity going on. There's a lot of storytelling going on just in his design, the bone necklace and the complicated weaponry. It was about telling that story. And that's true of every character that came out of the shop. That was the goal, was how do we serve the filmmaker and bring this character to utterly believable life. And I think that since that was his focus, the characters that came out of the shop were real and very memorable, and that resounds with audiences. So I think that was the secret to his success.
And it obviously worked, because I'm still a fan to this day. And my only complaint with the new Jurassic Park movie was not seeing enough. Well, really, I think I can only tell one scene in that movie where it was animatronics,
That's
and
right. That's right. It's unfortunate. I have to say I did enjoy the film. I felt it really brought back a lot of fun memories and a lot of great nods to the original franchise. And I thought the digital work was terrific. But that said, I think that there was a missing element of reality because they didn't mix it up like they did in every other film in the franchise. And I think if you look back at Jurassic Park 1, those sequences are more real than the sequences in Jurassic World, unfortunately. So I think the work that Dad's former team at Legacy Effects did on the designs and also on the Apatosaurus puppet were wonderful. But I agree, we should have seen more of it. And hopefully in the next couple films, they'll build some more stuff. I agree with you.
yeah, and that's also my complaint with, my only complaint with a lot of franchises, today is even the Terminator movie. While there was still good amount of practical, there was still, I think, a lot more CG. And again, for me, you know, while it may look, like dated today with the first Terminator, where Arnold Schwarzenegger fixes himself and everything. To me, if I've missed, the movie up until that point, I'm like, I know I can still watch it till the end because I get to see the Schwarzenegger fixing himself,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
that's the coolest thing to me.
Well, it is. I gotta say, look. they had a very small budget. What they pulled off for that movie was remarkable. But I do agree. I mean, some of the puppet work, can feel a little obvious at times. But what I think what you just pointed out is that even a maybe not perfect practical effect is more enjoyable to watch than a perfect CG effect in some ways because it was there. It was there. People built it and it was right there on set. And I think people are missing that feeling of tactile involvement in films. And I think that that's why the Mad Max film was so just exciting to people because they knew that there were a crew of maniacs who actually went out into the desert on these crazy rigs and, ran into each other. And there's just something about knowing that something was there in front of the camera. It makes you lean forward in a different way than even the best digital effect can. And I'm not ever going to slam CG because it's an amazing tool. I think when it's used in the right balance with practical effects, I think you get true magic.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. When it's overboard and there's no practical element to ground it, I think that you kind of don't lean forward so much because there's no actual reality to what you're seeing.
Yeah, and they've been playing Terminator 2 Judgment Day
I'm sorry.
on that's okay. They've been playing Terminator 2 Judgment Day on the Encore channels and the Stars channels recently, and besides Schwarzenegger probably being up there in my top 5 favorite actors, movie stars of all time. It's the fact that I know Stan was involved in that majorly, and seeing that opening sequence where it's in the future, and the T-800 steps on the skull, and and Cameron pans the camera up, and you're just thrown in to the 2029 war against the machines going on.
It's real, and they built
Yeah.
a size Terminator. How cool is that?
Yeah, and it's like I just get giddy, every time that comes on, and it's like, yeah, this is so fucking cool, because it's like you're seeing, that those are models, of like the hunter killers flying and everything, but it looks just so well done and real because it is real in a sense, and it's just that to me, it's just it just makes Terminator 2 Judgment Day really the masterpiece that it is.
Yeah, I agree. Knowing that that T-800 was there, full size on set, and being shot with cameras, with actual light hitting it, and smoke and explosions is just too awesome. I agree with you, and you know, thankfully, and then we can maybe segue into
Yes, yeah.
stuff. Just to wrap up the CG. Hey, you're the host of this. What do I know? You can talk about whatever you want. But I mean, I would just finally say that it really is about getting back to balance. And I think there's a whole new generation of filmmakers coming up who don't want to spend their creative time on an empty set with green screens. They want to come to a set that has sets built and costumes and practical effects and make believe. That's why people become filmmakers. And I think, Christopher Nolan, Guillermo del Toro, Greg Nicotero, the work that's happening on The Walking Dead, which is about 95% practical with tasteful CGI augmentation. That's where it's at. And there's filmmakers who get it. Anyway, so I think we have a bright future. Is all I want to say.
I definitely think so too. Well, here's the good segue to get into some of your acting.
Okay.
Let's talk New Nightmare first. The late great Wes Craven, and what's actually probably my favorite nightmare, next to the first and the third out of the original series. What was Wes like? I mean, another master horror filmmaker, and filmmaker in general. Do, was there any stories behind Wes and the New Nightmare film?
Yeah, I knew Wes growing up a bit. The dad obviously knew him as fellow horror dudes. They were friendly and had a great friendship. And out of college, Dad said, "Hey, my son is getting into acting. Why don't you throw him a bone?" And that was my first role as a film actor, very first role. And I had known Wes previous to that, and then I got to work with him and spend more time with him. And he was just a great guy. As you said, rest in peace. We lost him not too long ago. He was thoughtful. He had been a professor before he became a filmmaker, and you could tell because he had that kind of gentle, thoughtful vibe to him. He had a twinkle in his eye, and then of course he had that wonderful darkness. He had those bizarre nightmare fantasies that he played out on the big screen, and so he was just this interesting contradiction. This mild-mannered, intelligent, thoughtful, well-read professor, obsessed with nightmares and dark fantasies. So just a great guy. And I was very fortunate to be in that movie. I thought it was also a very interesting movie, how it sort of played with the meta, film within a film concept. And the fact that I was playing an effects artist was very intentional, given that I'd grown up doing that with my dad, and so it was great. It was great, and I got to be the first death in that movie, or maybe the second death. I think Rob dies just before me. We died kind of simultaneously, but it was a great experience. Great experience.
Awesome. And again, New Nightmare is probably, I, I would have to say New Nightmare probably is my number one favorite out of the Nightmare.
Come on, more than Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, I must protest.
I really like the first and the third a lot,
Yeah.
but to me it's New Nightmare. That one I think was really the scariest out of them all. I mean, you could argue that New Nightmare and A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, probably are the two scariest out of all of them, but I like New Nightmare a little bit more because of what the mystery is behind Freddy in that one. It's not even really Freddy. It's like a demon, taking on the form of Freddy, and also, I think Freddy is just more badass, and that, I mean, the look.
Well, what people don't realize, or maybe they do, is that Wes only directed two Nightmare movies, and it was the first one and New Nightmare. That was it.
He wrote the third one, but
he only directed.
He only directed the first and New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people don't know that. Some people think that he's was there for the whole franchise. He gave birth to it. But he only directed those two.
Right. Much like how John Carpenter was really only involved with the Halloween series up to number 3.
Yeah.
And also, what most people don't know is that what John Carpenter was trying to do with the Halloween series is that after part 2, what he wanted to do was create an anthology Halloween movie. So that's why Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is called Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, even though it has nothing to do with Michael Myers. It's because he wanted to make an anthology Halloween movie series after killing off Myers in part two,
Yep.
which is a good segue to talk about um, Halloween H2O.
Yes, another appearance in a fun, iconic franchise. Again, family friend Steve Miner directed that one, and I got to be in the opening scene with, or one of the opening scenes there as a cop, um, and didn't get to have any scenes with Michael Myers. That would have been awesome. But nice to have played in that universe. So I've been a lucky guy.
Yeah, and I have to say, with the actual Michael Myers, um, series, uh, I would say part two and part one and two and H2O probably have to be my favorites with Myers, and then number three is just it's that's awesome. Um, but let's going back to your dad, um, Galaxy Quest.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how much fun was that movie? Uh, for those of you who haven't seen it, if you know Star Trek and you have fondness for it, even if you don't, if you think it's silly, check out Galaxy Quest. It's a fantastic love letter to the Trek franchise, and Dad and his team got to do all the various aliens and makeups in the movie, and I got to actually play a Thermian in that movie as well. This was, I gotta say, it was kind of nice being the son of Stan Winston because I got to do little parts in his movies.
Always a plus. Always a plus.
Yeah.
But I have to say on Galaxy Quest, this movie, I saw this in theaters when it came out because I had been a huge Star Trek, Star Wars fan, since childhood. One of the first movies I got to see in theaters was Star Trek Generations. So I've always I will say I've always been more fond of Picard over Kirk, but I love them both. Um, but with that being said, I being knowing all about Star Trek as well as Star Wars, and then Galaxy Quest comes out, and I see the preview for this movie, and I'm like cracking up
Oh,
because I know what this is supposed to be, spoofing, and I saw it in theaters like 5 times.
yeah, it's very funny. Oh my gosh, it holds up so well. And
To this day, my even my screenwriting teachers, say to our classes, like when referencing certain things, they're like, "Have you seen Galaxy Quest?" And surprisingly, a lot of these screenwriting film students have not seen Galaxy Quest, and I'm like shocked because I'm like, how can you have not seen Galaxy Quest? This movie, you don't even have to be a Star Trek fan to get, how hilarious this and well done this movie is.
yeah, if you're a sci-fi fan at all, you will find something to love. And what I love most about that movie is that it is a satire, but it's got a lot of affection for the subject matter. You know what I mean? You could tell that as much as everyone's having fun with it, there's a lot of love for what those shows were about, for what the Trek universe was about. So I think the director Dean Parasot and the whole filmmaking team did a great job of being respectful. So and it was great. I love that movie. You should all go see it. Galaxy Quest. Netflix it today.
Yes, yes, and if you don't Netflix it, go out and buy it. It is worth owning.
And we've got Sigourney Weaver and
Right,
Tim Allen and Alan Rickman and Sam.
Tony Shalhoub.
It's just a Tony Shalhoub. It's a brilliant cast with effects by Stan Winston Studio.
Yes, and speaking of which, now Sigourney had worked with Stan on Aliens as well as Galaxy Quest. What is Sigourney Weaver like in real life?
Wow, Sigourney. She's, I first met her back on Aliens. I remember visiting the set with Dad in London, and then she threw a party, or I think one of the crew threw a party. She was there and got to talk to her. I was just very, of course, like any young man who had seen Alien in 1979 and her in her panties there at the end. Had a crush big time on Sigourney Weaver, and I was, about 15 when I met her. So I just remember her being very approachable, and nice, and also regal. And she's a very tall, beautiful woman, and funny, funny, an easy laugh. And then she and Dad worked together again on Galaxy Quest, and I got to be in the scene with her when they're first beamed aboard the ship. I'm the Thermian who welcomes them, and I remember her again being just very gracious. And she's a Yale educated actress who's really just brilliant, but one of the guys in so many ways, a really cool lady, and a true icon of the genre. We all love Sigourney Weaver. Monster fans love Sigourney Weaver. She's awesome.
Exactly, and I mean, she's done so many sci-fi films
Oh, Ghostbusters.
besides Aliens and all that.
Oh, of course, the whole all the Alien sequels, of
Hmm.
course, Ghostbusters. I don't know if you'd call Gorillas in the Mist effects movie, but it's full of
Yeah,
great stars.
yeah.
Baker, the Avatar franchise. She's coming back for the next one, so yeah, she's our uh, she's our girl, us sci-fi nerds.
Exactly. One other film I wanted to talk to you about was The Peacemaker.
Oh my gosh, you're digging deep. These are all the movies you're mentioning pretty much are when I was first starting out as an actor, and I got to do like a scene here, a scene there, and fun movie. But I have to tell you, my flight to and from Czechoslovakia to do my little part as the UN guy, uh, the flight took longer than my time actually on the ground in Bratislava. So that was fun. I got to be on I guess a recreation of JFK Airport, but it was actually Bratislava, and all these quote New York cops, New Yorkers were all Bratislavan or Czechs. No one could speak English. It was great, and it was NYPD, but no one could speak any English whatsoever. And got to tear up in there in the van and sort of run into the ship, the plane, whatever. But that was fun. George Clooney became a movie star in that movie, so that was fun to see.
Well, again, like all these movies, again, are me growing up on all this stuff. So that's why it's such influential parts of my life because it's memories. It's going to the movies as a kid, with my dad a lot of the time because I'm not 18, can't get into our movies, but it's
I'm I'm with you about that. I mean, movies and memorable movies kind of help us mark our lives, the progression of our lives, in a really meaningful way. And that was something you shared with your dad. That was something I shared with my dad. Me and my sister. It was for us. It was Hammer Films, uh, Christopher Lee, obviously John Carpenter, um, and Toby Hooper, and that was what he showed us. And we're doing the same with my kids. I mean, they've seen. I guess I'm a bad parent. I don't know, but they're very young and they've seen everything, and
no,
they're gonna yeah. Go ahead.
there's I would not say you're a bad parent at all because when I was growing up, my first memory is actually being in a movie theater, watching Back to the Future Part 3. So the fact that just a few days ago was Back to the Future Day, I'm always going to remember because it was also my sister's 24th birthday. So that's memorable. But at age 3, again talking about Schwarzenegger, um, I I saw in my dad's movie collection on VHS Total Recall. And, I said to him, just by looking at the cover, can I watch this movie? And he's like, absolutely not. Flash forward 2 birthdays, age 5. I had been begging him for 2 years, since then to like let me watch this movie. And finally he's like, all right, age 5, it can't be that bad. So all he did was cover my eyes on the three-titted lady, and, and I got to see the rest of the movie. Little
uh,
did he know, I figured out how to use the VHS player. So while he was at work, I was watching Total Recall over and over again, and it wasn't even like, pausing it on the three-titted lady, but it was like, oh, so that's a three-titted lady.
there you
Okay.
go. Yeah.
But
At age 5, your first breasts that you'd seen, other than your mother's, were these, and you thought there had to be three-breasted women out there, didn't you?
right, right. I mean, it came out in my drawings at school, but
Oh man. Oh man.
my dad got a call, both my parents got a call, but my mom was like the one who's like, always at work. And my dad comes in and he tells me this story to like this day. And that it's like a parent teacher conference, and they're like really concerned because like I'm drawing like monsters and violence and three-titted ladies and
Sam, let me ask you this: have you ever been an actually violent person?
no, never.
You see what I mean? This is how it works. Those who can get those instincts out, because we all have it. We all have that. It's from the days we were cavemen. I mean,
Right.
something about drawing the monster on the wall that is therapeutic. It feels good, and it's fantasy. And people would always say to my dad, "Do you have nightmares?" And he goes, "No, I play and I get to live inside my nightmares." And so I don't actually have any nightmares. I'm a happy guy. And I think that more kids should be drawing three-breasted women and monsters at age 5.
Well, if Matt Winston said it, then it has to be.
Where's this going? Where's this podcast? I'm gonna get a lot of phone calls from angry parents of kindergartners.
Well, it's not going to be any. I don't have any kids, but you better believe, when I do, the first thing they're watching is, Predator, the Terminator, all of the great, Stan Winston's work. I mean,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much for introducing a new generation to the work of Dad and his team. That's very important. And hey, does that feel like a Stan Winston segue to you?
It does. It definitely does. Let's talk about the School for Character Acting.
All right. So this the Stan Winston School, for those of your watchers, listeners who don't know, is an online school that basically allows you to learn from all of the geniuses, both artistic and technical, who worked with or were inspired by Dad. You finally had a chance to go behind the wizard's curtain and learn how all those miraculous things were created for the movies. And it's been an amazing adventure for the whole family and everyone involved over the last 6 years. And I think Dad would love it. As I was saying earlier in our talk, he was so proud of the Winston Effect, the book, because it went behind the curtain and introduced you to everyone who made it happen. And the school is really an extension of that. Rather than just reading it on the page, you're now able to see it in real time online and meet these people and learn from them. So it's been an absolute thrill and passion project for all of us. So check it out, stanwinstonschool.com.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And, just again, Stan was really a genius. He again, for all my listeners and viewers, if you have not seen any of the films just mentioned, what are you waiting for? You know, these films are where it's at. This is where, ground zero for everything that really we know as memorable sci-fi horror film characters come from. And, again, starting out with Gargoyles, which I still think holds up to this day as a classic, 70s horror film. I mean, especially at the end of that movie where the lead
Oh,
gargoyle.
spoilers! No
No,
spoilers.
no, all right. I'm not gonna say it, but with that lead up, just go check it out. Um, you know, Talking about Predator, Terminator, Jurassic Park, Aliens, um, you know,
Pumpkinhead,
Pumpkinhead,
Pumpkinhead.
exactly, Pumpkinhead. And which he got to direct. Which is to this day one of my all-time favorite '80s horror movies. I mean, Pumpkinhead. That film is so eerie. To this day, getting Lance Henriksen to come and be the lead role in that. And there's something I just love about southern
Hmm.
horror, if you will.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's a good setting for horror.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
got you got a real pretty mouth.
yeah.
Goo goo. You don't even need you don't even need monsters. Just go watch Deliverance.
Right,
Go watch a
right,
really scary
right.
sudden Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Something about the South. They get up to all kinds of dark stuff in there.
right.
Ed Hardy. Um, well, I love that you're so inspired by this stuff, and I see you got the Army of Darkness poster behind you. How excited are you for the new TV show?
I am
Um,
actually throwing a huge Halloween It's actually called the Fish Bowls Halloween slash Ash versus the Evil Dead premiere party.
nice,
And
nice.
so far, I've been able to get too many people coming to my house to check this out on
All
Halloween
right,
night. But Ash versus the Evil Dead. Oh my
come
god.
on.
Oh my god.
Hello, hello. I just introduced my 14-year-old to the Evil Dead franchise, and oh my gosh, Sam Raimi.
Yeah,
What a what
another
a great
great filmmaker.
crazy genius, crazy. Yeah, people think of him Spider-Man, this and that. No, no, no.
No, no,
Sam
no.
Raimi,
Evil Dead.
just
Dark
Evil Dead.
Man.
Sorry, that's
Yeah.
Sam Raimi. uh, well, I hope what I gotta say, I do have to wrap up our talk in about 5 minutes
Sure,
because I
sure.
got my daughter's soccer game to go get to. But
More
I
important
I
than the
love
fishbowl, obviously.
I love the fact I do love the fact that you're born in '88. So what does that make you? 30?
20,
No, I can't do
27.
20. Oh, you're a kid. I love the fact that 20 somethings, teens, and even younger are becoming aware of this incredible body of work that is before the last 20 years, that they are looking back to the 80s and the 70s and look back even further. Go back to the 60s and the 50s and make sure you go back to the beginning of it all and watch Bela Lugosi as Dracula and the werewolf with Lon Chaney Jr. and Boris Karloff as the mummy and Frankenstein's monster and Claude Rains as the Invisible Man. I mean, that's where it started. And then go even
Yeah.
further back to Nosferatu and just know your art, know your horror artists, know your fantasy artists, because everything we see today was built upon what they did, and they still did it better than most who are trying to copy it this day. So, it's important for me as someone who loves this community to make sure, you guys thank God for you because you're spreading that message to a new generation. No Dick Smith, no Rob Bottin,
Right.
know
Right.
these names, know their work, and take your inspiration and go make a new renaissance in monster movies and in fantasy. I think we really need that. So I'm really excited that you're doing this, and I'm excited that you're 27 and you know all this stuff. That makes me really happy. We have hope. We
Yes,
have hope,
yes.
Dad. We have hope, Dad. We have hope.
And that you doing that right there just fulfilled part of me being alive.
Oh wow,
You know,
wow.
if if there's any one makeup effects artist that I really wish I would have had a chance to interview, it would have been Stan. I mean, he was really the true out of. I mean, I'm a Pittsburgher, so of course you gotta count Savini, you gotta count Nicotero, Dick Smith, but it was Stan Winston that created the most memorable um, monsters, creatures, effects in the films that I grew up on watching first. And again, The Predator, Terminator,
You
Jurassic Park.
always say you always remember your first,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
his monsters just so happened it lined up that they were the ones that had the most impact on you at the beginning. And Dad would love to hear that. He was very humbled to see how the characters he had the great fortune to work on continued to live on, and how they impacted fans. He loved the fans. I mean, I think we're all fans. I think he loved the fans because he was that fan. He was that kid who was watching The Blob and the original Thing and dressing up as a werewolf, and turned his love of this stuff into a career. And so whenever he meet a fan, he would see himself mirrored in that fan. So we're all part of the same monster loving family, and it's great to welcome you into our extended family, Sam.
Awesome.
You're honorary Winston.
Again, part of my life has been fulfilled.
Well, that's great to hear, and I only wish you could have spoken to Dad personally, but I know he'd be saying a lot of the same things I say, because he's reaching down from above and puppeteering me right now. Build a school, son, with the rest of the family. So he's guiding this conversation.
Awesome. Well, to Matt, to Stan, thank you for taking the time to come on the Fishbowl and talk with me about Stan as well as about your work. And it's just been a pleasure talking with you, Matt.
You too, Sam, and I'd love to come back and swim around the fishbowl with you anytime. Let me know. We can focus on one film and discuss that, or whatever you want to do.
Awesome. That sounds great.
All right, you have a great rest of your weekend, and happy Halloween.